Welcome, everybody. I'm Stephen Vollers, and I'll be your host for today's webinar around customer journey analytics. And together with our special guest speaker, Benjamin Achary, we'll explore why it's important to work customer-centric. We'll discuss the role of customer journeys in there with some key challenges and solutions to get real business value from that. But let's first start with a quick introduction. We're both representing Vimo. So Vimo is a full-service agency. And together with our 650 colleagues spread across 15 countries, our mission is to create great customer experiences. And we do that by focusing on digital commerce, content management, data management, product data, assets, and customer data, and also insights and activation, where we report, analyze that data to get real insights to improve the journey. I'm representing the Customer Data Insights and Activation Department that is focused on understanding and improving the whole customer journey through data, through customer data. And after the acquisition of Nobi in 2022, the company that I co-founded, we are building out this global practice within Vimo. With our team, we have been guiding many leading brands in both B2B and B2C with their data challenges. And I'm going to keep this part very brief, but if you want to learn more about that, then don't hesitate and reach out. Now, I already introduced myself, but now is a good moment to introduce our guest speaker. So my colleague, Benjamin Achary. Benjamin, welcome. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Stephen, and hi, everyone. Yeah, hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be with you, Stephen, today and participate to this webinar. Real pleasure for me to talk about data and customer journey. My professional journey started 20 years ago, and at this time was working with companies like travel agency to support their e-commerce business. And back in 2005, for those who remember, we were talking already about data analytics and talking about Google Analytics early days. And after that, I had the opportunity to work as a consultant for Adobe, and during more than a decade, I'm helping major brands to implement solutions such as analytics, data management platform, you remember DMPs, and more recently, CDPs, customer data platform. So really, really happy to work at Vimo now. And my role in Vimo, as you know, is to help brands to leverage their own data and create the best digital experiences.
Okay, great. Thanks, Benjamin. Great having you here. So it's amazing having you here to talk about customer data and journey analytics. And for the audience, in this webinar, we'll focus on why it's so important to focus on customer centricity and the role of customer journeys. And also we'll cover 4 key challenges with also the solution specifically for journey analytics. And at the end, we'll have a look at how AI can further boost the journey analytics capabilities further. But before we do that, let's start with some winning examples. We all know Amazon. Amazon started as an online bookstore, but in the meantime, they're really renowned for their relentless focus on customer satisfaction. Second example is Apple. Apple has built a loyal customer base by creating products that offer a seamless and an intuitive user experience. They became, at some point, the biggest tech company in the world by their great products with optimal user experiences. A third one is Starbucks. Starbucks is well known for their personalized approach, and they're improving also the experiences further based on customer feedback. That's a heavy focus for them. The fourth example is a B2B example. Adobe, well known for their Creative Cloud like Photoshop and others, and then Experience Cloud, heavily focused on understanding and addressing customer needs. And they really made the shift to a full digital business. So that's why we selected them as an example here as well. Now, what do all of these have in common? They have an extreme focus for customer centricity, right? And a lot of organizations tend to be product centric, or at least a lot of them used to be, and maybe some of them are still in the transition to be more customer centric. But take this example of Heinz. Heinz is a great product, maybe for some even the best ketchup in the world. At least I think it might be that. The product is really great, but the packaging is maybe less optimal because it all goes well until you reach the last 25% of the bottle, right? Then it could become a bit messy. So what Heinz did was they took a customer-centric approach, they redesigned that product, and they flipped it completely to make the user experience better, to make it easier to use the product. So that's more customer-centric. Now, I would like to start with a question for you guys. So in your organization, do you believe, is your organization more product-centric or more customer-centric? And with product-centric, you're typically more focused on the innovation, the technical things, the features of your products, more focused on the brand than the experience. On the other hand, if you're customer-centric, you're really looking at customer needs, customer feedback, you're collecting data across the journey, you're analyzing the data to really improve the experience of the customer. So please join the poll. I see answers coming in. Interesting.
Yeah, I cannot vote for myself as a host, Stephen, but definitely Valmo is more customer-centric, if I may.
Yeah, I hope. Indeed. Good. I see that the answers are a bit spread out. There's still quite a few product-centric, but the majority believes that they are customer-centric, which is good. So let's build on that. So following these examples, they all show that we need to be more customer-centric, but what does that mean exactly? Let's start with a definition to clarify what we mean here. Customer centricity is, in fact, the ability of people in an organization to understand customers' situations, perceptions, and expectations, whereby the customer becomes the center, will be at the center of decisions related to delivering those products, services, and experiences. And all this to create customer satisfaction, loyalty, and advocacy. So customer centricity is having the ability of people in an organization to understand customers' situations, perceptions, and expectations, whereby the customer is at the center of decisions related to delivering products, services, and experiences to create customer satisfaction, loyalty, and advocacy. All right. One key thing that we need to do to be more customer-centric is obviously looking at the journey of a customer, right? We need to have an understanding of that journey in the customer life cycle from the moment they get aware of the brand or the products that we sell, they start considering them, at some point maybe purchasing. If that happens, we'd like to make them loyal customers, and maybe even some of them will become brand ambassadors or advocates of the brand. And with all this, we will have a lot of touch points with the brand, both digital and offline. And that's a bit the challenge. And we should use, in fact, that customer journey as a key driver for customer centricity. And that leads us to the first challenge that we want to discuss. How do you get started? How can you start focusing on your customer journeys? Well, a very simple way to do that is, of course, to start mapping out the journey. You can do this by listing the key phases of the journey, and you can do this by focusing on the key phases in the customer life cycle, like in this example, or you can focus on a more specific journey. So there are multiple ways of doing it, but the key point is that you get a clear view on the different activities of a customer across those phases in the journey. The advantage is also, like, if you do this in teams across departments, for example, you will get a clear view on the KPIs with aligned metrics, aligned terminology. You will get a clear view on what are the key activities that our customers have in this journey, in these different phases. We can identify what are the specific needs that a customer has. How does the customer feel in this journey? Do we know that there's certain steps in the journey where customers tend to be frustrated or have difficulties? So we know this requires a certain attention for us. So we can identify the pains, but also the gains in the journey, and this brings people together in the same direction talking about the whole journey of a customer instead of from our company perspective. Now, before we're going to dive into the main challenges and solutions for getting a clear view on the customer journey, let's look at some different maturity levels that we can see in an organization. Right, Benjamin?
Yeah, and today we'd like to share with you one of our VIMO maturity model we put in place, focusing on customer journeys. Here, the idea is to help our customer position themselves in this 5-level assessment, and you can try already to guess where you think you are as a company, and defining strategy to improve their current situation. So obviously, there's no good and bad answer. Just want to be clear with that, and thanks for the survey. You might listen to me in 1 minute and then fill the survey in case you want more details, but the idea is to define how you want to start mapping customer journey with your organization and what you need to do it. So on the left-hand side, you'll have the initial state where there's no real customer journey defined and potentially a lot of data silo in place in your organization. When we see customer moving to the middle level, as we call this proactive or structural level. So here the journey are documented and standardized with the company, as well as the reporting. If we move to the right, we go to the more mature experienced company and brand in a situation where they have full understanding of their customer journey, but also their data are fully integrated. And one important thing for us today is reporting provides real-time insight for all touch points. We consider them as leader in regards to this maturity model because they are capable of analyzing their own customer journeys with advanced solution, but also thanks to that, they can create full personalized experience we call all touch points. So you should know more or less where you're sitting. And I don't know, Steven, if you already have some results to share with us from the audience.
Yes, I see results still coming in. So if you didn't vote yet, please do it now. Take some time to do it. I see at the moment it's a bit spread. I'm not going to reveal it yet, but yeah, I see still votes coming in. All right. So we have the 5 maturity phases, right? I see that majority is in the second step. And then we have 36% in the third and 7% in the first. So there's nobody in optimized, nobody in the leading transformational. So that's interesting to see, right? Because most of participants are customer-centric. So there is a certain ambition to be customer-centric. A lot of you also started already in this journey, but you still have a lot of steps to take, right? That's what the poll shows us here. So that also brings us to the next challenge. And that's quite a big one, I would say. There's a lot in here. How to understand the customer journey across touch points in a multi-device and a cookieless world. So that's the key starting point, right? We showed you the example of how you can do journey mapping. That's purely based on information that we have. So you can even do that without real tracking across the whole journey. You could start there, but it becomes really valuable if you have all the information of all touch points, of all interactions across this journey. So the reality today is that customers have a lot of different touch points with the brand, right? And each of these touch points leave small traces of data relevant to the journey. Next to that, customers also decide, they control when, where, and how they engage with the brand. And the customer journey is not anymore linear or circular like represented here, where you have the key phases in the customer lifecycle. For convenience, we often show it in a linear or circular way, but in reality, it's more a picture like this, where customers interact with the brand on multiple devices, on multiple touch points. They can jump back and forth in the journey. And so it's a lot of different interactions. And so for us as an organization, it's a challenge to get clarity on that, to understand what a customer is really interested in, maybe already did. If he or she purchased something, we need to get an understanding of that. So let's clarify this a bit further with an example, Benjamin.
Yeah, absolutely. And we wanted to share an example. And this example is a car seller company where we have several touch points, such as web, app, and car dealers and call center. And I'm sure in all your company, you're probably already started to define those customer journeys. And by the way, feel free to put a comment in the chat if you want to share your impression about the result of doing such exercise. As you can imagine, we might have seen dozens of different scenarios when having so many touch points in a journey, probably an extreme case, but still, as we said earlier, defining key strategic journey will help us to focus on what is important for the business. So, however, when doing such a work, we should always think about one thing about the data we are collecting through the journey. As you can see here, if we look at all the different data in the journey, we will see that there's different teams collecting data with their own solution, and we put it here as example. You don't have to look at the solution themselves. It's just example of the variety of solution you can use for each different phase of the project. The problem is each team is collecting their own data for their own purpose, their own KPIs, and there's no real exchanges between all those different solutions. So more importantly, if I'm taking my data manager hat for a moment, there's one challenge that is critical for companies is how can we make sure to link all those data together? The next thing is that we'll talk about what we call the first party data shift. When we talk about first party data strategy shift, because first of all, one thing that we could all say is that there's no more third party. The third-party cookies are disappearing since years, and Google is communicating still on that. But what we know, and that's what we recommend to our customers, is to move to a first-party data strategy. The reason why is the only way for you to follow the customer across its journey and connect all interaction to the same customer profile. But something we often forget is that your customer will not give you information for free. For that, you need to motivate them to provide information, motivate them to authenticate with messages telling them that they can get if they connect to your website or your app. As the example you see, get more advantages if you connect to our website. Of course, some channels are easier. When you think about call centers or clicking on an email, you should always make sure that you're capturing automatically all signals that will help you to reconcile the data. But on the web, on the app, on some cases in the store, you will need to be proactive and motivate your customers. Same applies to consent. Make sure you always explain why consent is important, but not for you, for the customer. And what is the own benefit for the customer? It could be in this example, you're giving for free miles for a travel company. Honestly, it doesn't cost you much really to give miles to your customer, but in exchange, what you get is much more information from value for their own data. It's pretty important to have this unique strategy with first-party data. Now we're moving out from the third-party world.
Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that, Benjamin. So basically, due to technical constraints and legal obligations, we as organizations are in fact forced to focus on first-party data in order to be able to follow the customer across their journey, right? So that's also a good segue to our next challenge. And that is that customer data is scattered across different platforms. Let's look at that a little bit more into details. First of all, research shows that customers, in average, are connected to 8 connected devices. So this can be your laptop, your phone, your smartwatch, your fitness tracker, and there's plenty of other examples possible. But on average, we have 8 connected devices. In some regions, this number is even higher. The main thing to remember is here that on all of these devices, we're leaving small traces with our interactions with different brands, right? If we look at it from a company perspective, companies have on average 16 different sources to leverage customer data. Think about CRM, marketing automation, your web analytics or experience analytics, personalization tools, advertising tools, and so on and so on. There's a very big list possible of sources. These are averages, right? We have examples of big organizations that we have been supporting where the number is way higher than this. The number gets higher as well when we as an organization want to get insights and reporting and insights and provide engagements with the clients, right? Then it goes up to 25. So imagine in this situation, and maybe for you the number is even bigger, that you have to make connections with all these platforms in order to get an understanding, a full understanding of the customer across their journey. And on top, doing that in a privacy compliant way, that becomes a bit mission impossible, right? So what we need is, in fact, is a single view of the customer. We need to be able to bring together data from different platforms using multiple different identifiers like email or an account ID or a customer ID, or maybe unknown data or pseudonymized identifiers like a device ID, advertising ID, and so on and so on. First-party cookies on for your web analytics, for example. All of these different identifiers and the data connected to those, we need to be able to bring that together. Because we would like to have a 360 view of the customer so we can be better, more efficient, more effective on all our touch points. So for example, on advertising, that our paid media campaigns will be more efficient, more effective, that we can do more with the same budget, for example, because we can decide to buy this programmatic space if a customer qualifies for the product that we are trying to promote. Same for web personalization, marketing automation, and so on. So you can think about many different possibilities to interact with the customer, but basically we need to have the 360 view to facilitate that. But that comes with some technical requirements, right? To connect all those data points together to the same customer. So let's dive a little bit further into that, Benjamin.
Yeah, we clearly have a puzzle here. We want to create a single view of the customer, but we have pieces everywhere. And if we want to talk a bit more technical, for the technical audience on the call, we could talk about identity management or visitor stitching. So it's absolutely mandatory today to have the capacity to manage identity management in your analytics reporting and all the different data you are having to understand, analyze, and activate your customers. But stitching really has always been the holy grail, especially in analytics solution. Most of the solution were using data model not ready for data reprocessing. And as such, analytics solution never really managed to transform a visitor into a customer. So the different ways to solve this challenge, there are different ways. One thing we see quite often in your customer is you can work directly with your IT team, because they have a data warehouse. They know how to manage the data. They know how to run SQL queries. And in that case, you can easily provide and sync different data sources, leveraging your own data sources and data warehouse in one way to manage it. The other way and the other alternative, and you have heard about this word for probably a million times since a few years, is CDPs. We have a lot of customers leveraging CDPs to create this 360 profile, but not all of them, not all our customers move to CDP already, sorry. But the most important thing is that not all CDP are providing advanced analytics capabilities. Remember, we want to analyze customer journey with really advanced capabilities. This is not always the core foundation of CDPs. So to conclude on this challenge, I want to make sure that with our audience that identity resolution is the most important thing, is key. If there are different ways to answer this need, but what we like to do is that it requires the work from several teams in your organization. It's not just the CRM team or not just the team working on the digital analytics. You will have to work together to find the best way to create this puzzle and to make sure that you have this identity.
All right. Great, Benjamin. So this is indeed a big rabbit hole that we unfortunately can't dive into much because that would lead us too far. But let's move to a fourth challenge that we see. And that is getting rid of organizational silos. I guess this also will sound very familiar to people. The challenge is, of course, that managing great experiences is not easy. It's challenging, right? Because there's so many different things and teams involved that need to be aligned and need to be right in order to succeed. And that's why I'd like to compare it to Formula One, where you have different teams like engineering, car design, car mechanics, the data team, race strategy, and so on and so on. They all need to come together. They all need to be aligned in order to, in the end, win the race and win the next race. And with 100,000 data points and maybe 300 sensors, it's the world's most data-driven sport out there, Formula One. So it's also not a one-time job, it's a process. They're continuously learning and improving. And they can only succeed in doing that if they have a common vision and a common plan. So that's why it's also much like the customer experience. The high performance and all the major players, they are extremely data-driven and they have a clear vision, a common vision, crossing the traditional silos. But when it comes to understanding the customer, but also when it comes to understanding their customers, but also when it comes to building their business and providing high quality data to facilitate that through the organization, right? Now, how do we do that? Of course, there's only one way, that starts with a common vision. When you're looking at a big transformation, it might not be realistic to think that you can have this vision from day one across all the different departments that you have in an organization. Maybe that's a step to 4, but in the end, that's what you need to get to, right? So maybe it starts with a part of the organization, but you need to clarify a vision, crossing the different silos that you're focusing on right here. You need to have a common mission, common objectives with unified goals, unified metrics, and that's a starting point, right? Based on that, you also need to look at your customers, obviously. You need to look at who is now our target customer, what are most important segments, what are the key journeys that our customer goes through, and clarify those. When you're doing that, you will easily identify key use cases. You will see what's important, what's relevant for the business, and you can define that in key use cases that you can translate in required capabilities. Capabilities in the sense of technology, tools, the platform, the data that you might need, but also the people, the processes around it. Don't forget that part neither. And once you have that clarified, you can have a roadmap. You can have a roadmap with all the key initiatives needed to gradually mature and implement the capabilities. Because it's not an easy step that you say, look, we decide to go for that, and you can drive your whole organization in that direction. It's probably going gradually. I just quickly want to mention, we have a framework for that we're using over 10 years, focusing on the 5 Ps that will help you to gradually mature in each of these areas. And if you do, then you will be able to succeed. Don't focus too much only on the platform, for example. Don't forget people and processes, and start definitely with purpose, right? The main thing is that we see that if there is not a shared vision and shared objectives, then things tend to go wrong, or tend to be at least less efficient and less effective. Take the example of customer data and reporting around it. Each organization's department, and even sometimes for each specific purpose, they have their own analytics or reporting solution. And there's limited consistency between the data. There's many examples of tools. You can see some logos here. I'm sure many of these will look familiar, but that is the challenge, right? That if you want to link all these touch points together across the journey, these solutions are not built for that. And we'll clarify that. We often forget one thing. We have these different departments, but in the end, where is the customer? Right there in the middle. We should be all more connected and focused on that customer, right? So let's dive a little bit further into detail there, Benjamin.
Yeah, well, we set the scene, right? The challenges and all the different aspects of the customer journey. But here's the really interesting part, and the juice of the solution is that let's talk about customer journey analytics. And if we want to look at what we have today, is that on one side, we have the analytics expert, and I'm one of them, and it is the digital analytics tool we are using. So it could be Google Analytics, Adobe Analytics, or others. But what is important is that we are expert in the solution. We manage and use data. And some of our users internally have been trained to use those solutions, but essentially on online activity to analyze what's happening online, on my website, on my app. On the other side, in the blue part, we have the BI experts. And the role of BI expert and the tools is really to ingest all the data, essentially offline, like CRM, ERP, all the events that are happening in the company, and propose traditional report in a BI tool. And it's really interesting to see that in the middle, we have what we call now customer journey analytics. And here we are talking about the solution, but we see more and more case of organization change when those two groups are getting closer. They are getting closer, but because what we want is pretty simple. We want to reconcile online and offline data sources using advanced analytics capabilities that we know from the left-hand side with all users of the company. So that's the main difference. Here we are not talking just to the analytics expert or the product owner or the BI expert. We want in the middle, the business user, all the sales rep, the IT, using the same data sources, the same reporting to make sure that we're talking the same language. We have the same measure. But for that, what would be interesting to know is why customer journey analytics capability are helping your company. So the two first things are pretty simple. We talked about it. We want to combine data sets, all the data sets in the organization, and make sure that we're using identity management or stitching to associate those different data sets. That's part of the core of customer journey analytics. And we said that it could be part of the CDP, but what you have to make sure is that your analytics also is getting benefit out of it. If we move to the next one, we will talk about data democratization. If you want to basically talk about the most important building block here is that customer journey analytics will bring you to your company and make sure that we're talking the same language, common KPI, dimension, and segmentation across all departments. So leveraging report curation, for instance, is a way to simplify the possibility for user to use different metrics, but you don't have to have dozens or millions of metrics in your report. What you want to make sure that they have the sufficient metrics to do their work and analyze the performance. The next one is about data customization. This is one of the things that differentiate a customer journey analytics with a BI tool. The possibility to create specific view that adjust the result, the metrics, according to the different needs. You want to be able, for instance, to change the name of a product in a report. And what we hear from our customers is that their BI tool lack of flexibility, and the advanced solution provide this flexibility. So it's quite important for you to provide that. One of the biggest feedback we receive is how fast does it go? How fast does it go to create and process the data, but also to create the reporting? So here we are talking about real-time data processing, but also real-time data display, because you don't want to wait 1 minute or even less. I think people only want to wait seconds to get a report. And the thing is that we're not talking about a simple report that shows the sales for the last 10 days, for instance. We want to correlate multi-data sources. And if you want to do so, if you want to correlate multi-data sources, you need to make sure that you have a way to unify all in a single schema. So that's quite important, because if we rely on API, for instance, there's a couple of tools you rely on API, it's pretty handy. But at the end of the day, if you want to have a large volume of data, it will be quite difficult to process that. Last but not least, data export. We talked about the way that you can integrate your data from the customer journey analytics with the rest of your enterprise architecture, starting, for instance, with your own data warehouse. You want to be able to export data segment to provide more information to the different channel and push this segmentation, for instance, for your marketing automation tool or any kind of event-based solution. So this is what we think that is quite key as a capability for a customer journey analytics, Steven.
Right, great. And I believe you wanted to show some more specific examples, right? To make it a bit more visible and easier to understand.
We have to. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We have to be a bit more concrete. And this is one example. And there's, I think, 3 or 4 examples we want to do is building a comprehensive view of the customer journey. Why we're doing that? Because it will help you to understand when and how you're losing potential leads, revenue, opportunity in the different phase of your customer journey. So you might recognize that type of report. We call that a follow-up report. But here there's a trick. We're not looking at online follow-up report. We are looking at the entire customer journey fallout. And you want to understand where the customer are probably dropping and what are the different things. So we're mixing, in this example, visitor website with point of sale store and call center. For us, it's a way to analyze an entire customer journey. The next one is something that will be quite interesting, to an example of analyzing and drilling down into different data sets. That will help you to understand the cause and the driver of potential challenges in real time. So you can easily compare data linked to different channels. In this example, we are interested in comparing a store activity with potential call customer we are receiving. And of course, if you want to if you are able to know what is going wrong in a specific shop, then what you will be able to do is to improve the overall customer experience. There's one other example that we would like to show as typical passing report. And obviously, this is something that we really common in analytic solution. But this flow will help you to understand the trend, the pattern, to refine your typical customer activity. However, here again, we are not looking at navigation from one page to another. That's something we know. As over the last 15 years, we've been working with that on an online passing example. But what is interesting is looking at the event happening during the entire customer journey, after and before, to define what we call the golden path. Where you want a customer to go and where do they go? Maybe this is not exactly where you want them to go. So you need to analyze, and this kind of report from one channel to another will help you to do so. I think we have another one, the last one, Stephen, that is all about removing the guesswork. So what do we mean by that? Is that here we took the example of creating a quite advanced segmentation that will help you to understand how can I anticipate the next best action, next best offer for my client. In this example, I've selected the fact that a customer decided to visit one of my shops, and I want to know what's happening next. And in what we can see here, for instance, is what I've seen next. If we look at the example, the customer next action is doing after visiting a shop is going on my website and looking for a product. Okay, that's cool information. And then what can I do with that? Maybe I could sync the visit on the store and the visit on the website to align and starting doing some personalization. As you can imagine, it's really powerful analytic solution that brings you the entire customer journey.
Okay, great. These are really great examples, Benjamin. So basically, because the journey analytic solutions are applying these advanced capabilities that we know from the digital world, where we do that with predominantly the owned channels, now on the full journey of a customer, basically. So that's really amazing.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Nowadays, we can't give a presentation without talking about AI, right? Because AI can really boost your efficiency, your effectiveness on many different ways. Like even this image was generated by AI, so we didn't have a designer creating it. So let's look at how AI can boost customer journey capabilities. We have a few examples here. First of all, AI can help us detect changes or data anomalies. So if we see a normal trend in the data, we can detect if there is an anomaly, if new data coming in is diverging from that. So it can help us to detect changes. Maybe it's because of change in behavior, or maybe it is because there was a breach in the data or something. But at least it's an interesting trigger for us people focusing on improving the experience, that we identify those and that we see those. Obviously, AI can also further boost predictive use cases. So more advanced predictive analytics, where we can easily identify key converting segments in your customer base, and so on and so on. There's many examples possible right there. A third one is that we can use prompting to facilitate usage of reporting or getting insights from the data. So this is really further democratizing data, and not just democratizing data, but also democratizing insights from the data. We can even ask simple business-related questions like, hey, my campaign that I launched last week on Facebook, how performing was it? What were the results? So these things are now more and more possible. So this will also make a shift moving forward to make the whole organization potentially more efficient and effective in getting value from data without the need to involve a BI expert or a data analyst or a data scientist. This will not always be the case anymore. So this is something that will really drive further this evolution. So with that, we'd like to wrap up with key takeaways. So first of all, use customer journey maps as a tool to drive the conversation. This will really help you to drive all eyes in the same direction. Make the shift, as Benjamin explained, to the first-party data strategy. We are obliged, in fact, nowadays, right? If we want to get a view on the customer journey, we need to move to this first-party data strategy. Third one, we need to have a single view of the customer. This is a prerequisite. If you want to do journey analytics, we need to have that data, the central single view available. Otherwise, we will not be able to do that. As a fourth point, we talked about getting rid of the silos. So define a common plan, make a roadmap, even if it's as a start with a part of your business. Maybe at some point in the future, you will reach the full business. That depends on your organization and the maturity, but start with making this plan. And the fifth one is that, analyzing customer journeys, it really comes with key capabilities, right? And we know that traditional tools are not offering these. That's what we see. So avoid the trap of trying to build small things on the traditional tools and then maybe getting 50% of what you need, while the real value is in the last 20% maybe. So evaluate that carefully. Now with this, I'd like to launch the last poll of the day. We'd like to understand from you guys, like, what is your priority? This is a multiple choice question, if it went right. So please select the things that you see as most important for you today in your challenge to work more customer-centric and more focused on the customer journey. So I see results coming in. Let you all vote. Right, I think most votes are in. So majority, 67%, prioritizes getting a single view of the customer. So that's interesting. So that's a prerequisite to build on top. Then secondly, we have getting rid of the silos. So definitely that's also what we see with our clients, that this is still a challenge to get all eyes in the same direction. Maybe requiring here and there some evangelization to get them up to speed, certain departments. The third one is really using customer journey maps. So this is the top 3 of the audience. So most of you are not yet ready for a solution of customer journey analytics. 1/4 of you is. So I see that several of you are looking more at the prerequisites, the steps leading to journey analytics, right? So that's really interesting to see. With that, I'd like to thank you for your participation. I'd just like to invite you for this free assessment. So if you're interested to assess, like, where are we when it comes to customer data, we developed a free assessment. So you can just join in and scan the QR code. You can also find it on the Vimo website directly if you want, but this will indicate and give you some key recommendations already on how you can move things to the next step. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for your participation, and I'd like to wish you a great day. Do we have any questions? I forgot about questions, but if you have questions, I think you have now the possibility to ask questions. I'm gonna end the poll. All right, I don't think we have any questions. Wait. No. Then I'd like to thank you all for your attention. The recording will be sent to you, so you can watch it again later. Have a great day.
Steven, bye now.
See you. Bye.